deer are different wherever you go. They're very specialized to their habitat. And I'm out here chasing my most favorite thing, which is mule deer, specifically mule deer that aren't influenced by agriculture.
Still on his feet, still moving.
Trying to get some elevation, get eyes on some deer before they shade up and go to bed. This is like early December, basically, so there's some rut activity. They may migrate, they may not. They may be very dependent on man-made water sources. This is a big cattle area, so there's a lot of improved water sites. All things that a hunter has to figure out when they're checking out a new place. It's natural mule deer habitat and is much different than the habitat I'm used to. So this is Oklahoma.
It's hard to make people care about a thing when they don't even know that thing is there. And a surprising number of folks have no idea that mule deer exist in Oklahoma, let alone that you can hunt them. Luke Thorkildsen and I are in the Oklahoma Panhandle to explore the unknown, eastern mule deer.
Where is the state of Oklahoma with its mule deer population? What is the number?
That's what we're trying to figure out, to be honest. One of our big objectives with the upcoming project is to really figure out a better way to get a handle on distribution and abundance. And we know that it's spatially variable. And so that presents, from a research perspective, a challenge for us to figure out what method can the agency use to better answer that question.
Being that we are on the edge of the range of this species, it makes it much more important for us to understand that and to manage it more responsibly.
Right now I'm working up the eastern edge of the property, the eastern edge of our area, and Luke is on the western edge of the area. So hopefully, we should probably turn the old inReach on and see what, see if he's turned up anything.
Fewer than 1% of Oklahomans live in this narrow strip of land, bordering Kansas, Colorado, Texas, and New Mexico. It is literally an ecological cross-section of these states. It's been desolate since even before the Homestead Act, and even more so after the Dust Bowl of the 1930s. It's hard country, and that's what I love about it.
So what's interesting and very pertinent to this hunting situation here is that I'm here obviously to hunt mule deer, and people say there's mule deer out here, but nobody knows how many mule deer are out here, or if they're here full time, or if they're migratory. And the state of Oklahoma is currently unawares of its mule deer population. That being said, there's only a deer tag. It's good for a whitetail or a mule deer. It's just a deer tag. So there's no specific mule deer management or whitetail management. It's just deer management, which is interesting for somebody who really likes to chase mule deer. But the walking around that I've done, looking at awesome deer country, does bring up that question of how many deer are there?
We'll start by using helicopter net gunning to capture, looks like I think first year 70 mule deer total over a pretty large area. So we're going from the eastern edge of the Panhandle and then down what we call the downstate border with Texas. So the main kind of rectangular part of Oklahoma, that north-south boundary we share with Texas, all those counties down through there are available to us for capture. And we're going to use vaginal transmitters to capture neonates. So each spring following that helicopter capture, we'll follow up on those collared does and go out to birth sites and actually capture hours-old neonates so we can get fawn survival information, cause of mortality. Obviously we can get cause of mortality on the adults as well. And then we run the whole project for a total of 4 years, and there's some other, kind of related objectives, but it's all centered around the idea that we need the collars out in order to accomplish the main parts of the project.
Still in the process of trying to find a deer. I think it's gonna happen, but they're not hanging where I think they should be right now. So I'm gonna try to get up into a higher position. I know there's some established water up on these benches, and everything looks like great deer country, but I'm gonna try to get in a spot and just commit tonight to looking at these high benches. And that's where the cattle are out grazing. Maybe that's where the deer want to be out feeding this evening. So, and then I'll feel confident enough to move out of this zone and focus on a different zone tomorrow.
That is beautiful country, beautiful deer country too. Just don't see any deer yet.
With most wildlife species, and mule deer included, managing thing in isolation is a bad thing. The Mule Deer Foundation can come in and start to bring coalitions of the willing together, and then go tap funding, grant funding, farm bill funding, revenues that we make from banquets and other things. Working with groups like Weatherby when we sell guns, and that a lot of that revenue goes back on the ground through our local chapter reward system. And we can then, it's not something that you're completely asking the landowner to bear. And then, the state will ask its constituents, what do you want to do with this resource? Are we managing it correctly? Do you want us to change? But in all, it's all working around a common factor that we're caring about the mule deer resource. And we're trying to work together to complement each other rather than having everything happen in isolation. But it all comes back to collecting that fundamental baseline data. What are our deer doing, where are they living, and why?
Luke is sticking to his truck, using his glass to find any concentration of deer he can.
This is why I wanted to be right here tonight, where the only green grass that we've seen for miles, and there's deer coming out to feed and congregate and maybe get frisky tonight. He's definitely interested in what she's got going on. She's just giving him the cold shoulder. He started to jump and then she moved, but he's getting more frisky. She seems pretty patient. We just need a challenger to show up. That just happened. That was super cool. I've never seen a mule deer buck breed a doe before. That was really awesome. We got a new mule deer gonna arrive next spring.
I don't see a big string of mule deer marching towards the water. Man. Getting close to closing down the clock without seeing a single deer. Not much of anything, really. But I'm gonna keep trying. It's magic hour.
A few years back, the Red Desert to Hoback Mule Deer Assessment found that some of Wyoming's mule deer traveled, on average, 150 miles between their summer and winter ranges. This study shocked biologists all over the country and led to actual, actionable change in the study and conservation of mule deer populations, which leads one to think, what could happen here?
Cal's with Steve right over there. We're trying to play this draw, Cal and I, where he's on one side, I'm on the other, and the vast majority of the deer movement that we've seen is probably due to rut activity. There's some ag land, but the deer are naturally going to use this creek bottom that we're set up on each side of to travel.
When I teach younger biologists, I said, you got to think like the deer. Think like the grouse. Don't think like a human who's trying to interpret that stuff. A lot of people would just go, put more water out there.
Yeah.
But if water's not limiting, what else could you do? Or is the water in the right spot? But that's the stuff that when you start putting collars, particularly GPS collars, and running it through the models that they have now, you're going to be able to figure. Yeah. You're going to let the animals tell us, be the biologist, rather than the biologist trying to figure it out. The deer become the biologist, and then they tell us, and then we can come in and say, do we need to protect, preserve, enhance, restore, whatever this part of the habitat or this part of their life need as an agency. And then we work with partners, landowners, agencies, state fish and game agencies, and ultimately everything boils down to habitat. If you've got good habitat, you're going to grow your populations.
Ranchers talk about carrying capacity for every piece of land that they own or lease. Carrying capacity also relates to deer. What is the maximum population sustained by the available food, water, and habitat, and for how long?
I've read the abstract. Why now for this mule deer study in Oklahoma? And I want you to know too, fun fact, standing in the airport, getting my bags, Oklahoma City, had a bunch of people come up and chat, and they're like, oh, we have mule deer here?
There you go. There's the reason. It's because mule deer have not ever really been recognized as being within the range of mule deer, even though they have been. And so what's happening now, the reason for this study now, is that on your tag, they're selling unlimited number of deer tags in the mule deer range. And so from a management perspective, they don't know whether they're managing them correctly, because they don't know the populations, they don't know the distributions, they don't know how animals are changing to a changing environment. And from a group like MDF's perspective, which some of the value we'll get out of this is, okay, what do the deer need? What do they like? How can we go in and replicate that? How can we come in and work with landowners to improve habitats? So the thing about conservation is it's expensive. The great thing about private land conservation is we have this thing called the Farm Bill. And the Farm Bill is the largest single piece of conservation funding every year. And you have conservation programs within the Farm Bill that are created to assist private landowners. And what we can do is come in and be that glue that can stitch landowners together. We can create anchors in like the wildlife management areas. Those become your anchors and you build out from there.
I imagine part of your conversation is if you do this for mule deer, it also benefits cattle, or benefits drought tolerance, or
forage is forage. You put more pounds per on the ground, pounds per acre, cattle and wildlife benefit. And if they're native species or desirable species, even better.
Mule deer are browsers, meaning their diet depends on brush growing above the ground. In addition to forbs, grasses, and shoots, the location of food sources dictate where these deer end up.
This whole landscape, you know, very, very used to large grazing animals, but not for the duration and density that this place has seen.
Expanding whitetail deer populations are a real threat to mule deer across the country. Whitetail thrive on the edge habitat humans create, but they are also more aggressive and can outcompete mule deer for feed and even breeding rights. For an area as food and population limited as the Panhandle, this competition can be deadly. One of the most challenging elements to any mule deer hunt is knowing a herd's patterns of movement, day to night, week to week, month to month. Hunters are often savvy to this by observation, but until actual figures are determined through data, the how, when, and where of it are kind of murky and loose. Based on what I've seen so far, the best way I can help mule deer in this area and have some meat to bring home is to set up for the evening parade of white-tailed does on their way to feed.
Crushing my romantic visions of where mule deer want to be. So there's a white-tailed doe and white-tailed fawn coming down. We'll probably use that same trail that I came down. Great opportunity.
And just as the afternoon turns to evening, the does show up. But this brushy bottomland proved difficult for a prone shot. So, in order to clear the brush, I drop my pack on a willing yucca.
That first shot I had on the does was about 230 yards. Had a pretty decent rest off the cactus backpack combo. I mean, felt solid or else I wouldn't have taken the shot. But from the sounds of it, I pulled a little bit and shot her back. So there's more of a thump than a whap. You know what I'm talking about. So, want to give her a little bit, but we're also running out of light.
You know, I did this before when I was 17, but apparently I'm a learn twice type of guy.
I deserve this for not making a great shot, but drink it in. This is what happens.
This is exactly why every controlled hunt tag should come with an either sex whitetail tag.
100%. Especially anywhere there's mule deer.
Anywhere there's mule deer.
Yes.
It should. Because now it's like, I got meat.
I mean, this country, we talked about it earlier, is hard country. Your deer densities in here are never going to be what they are in Wyoming, Montana.
And what is the population here, the deer population here?
I don't think they know.
Yeah, there's literally nothing, right? There's not any information. There's no real understanding of, you know, the number that they base it off right now is a harvest number. Yeah. And that's what the pure, that's what everything is going off of. And so normally in Oklahoma in the last number of years, it's been somewhere between 1,100 and 1,300 mule deer harvested in the entire state. And with the increase of mule deer hunting, the interest in that, you know, that herd has seen a tremendous, speaking to the people who work there, that, you know, they believe that herd has been cut almost in half in a 3-year period of time. And so
because of outside factors or purely because interest in that mule deer population is going up?
So I think interest in mule deer in general is increasing across the country. And so people outside of Western focused states are having a larger interest in participating in that type of hunting. And you made mention of it. We have an over-the-counter tag here that makes it pretty easy.
Should I feel bad that I still want to go try to fill my buck tag?
Absolutely not. If there was a concern, the state would step in and say something about it, which they haven't done. But they're getting concerned enough they want to know more.
We're watching this buck and he's actually walking towards the property. The problem is that Cal left his post, and for us to get on him now, we're gonna have to go back to the truck and drive 20 minutes around. And by that time, he might be on the property because he's been moving pretty consistently. So I think I need to boogie.
Considering the amount of deer we've seen, Luke isn't likely to get another shot at this deer. He's got to cover ground, or else this buck will vanish.
Look at that kicker. Wow. Cool deer. Little brow tines for a muley. Almost another point there, but really tall, really cool deer. Almost had 2 kickers on this side. That's so rad.
Also not,
After days of pounding the dust of the Panhandle and seeing little to no life, it makes Luke's connecting with an old buck, one hunters would be happy with anywhere, truly special. I can't say I'm not jealous. Josh Stratton is the Director of Communications for Mule Deer Foundation, and while Luke and I have been striking out all over, Josh has managed to find the best mule deer buck. his first mule deer buck, right out of camp.
Great shot! Great shot! No, he's good, he's good.
Down the hill we go.
Whoever designed the state of Oklahoma did not consider the mule deer. At 166 miles long and 34 miles deep, the Panhandle region is small enough for a determined buck to walk across in a few days. Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado all have viable mule deer paths to the state, and right now, we don't know for certain where that buck would start or end its journey. Although my confidence as a big buck killer in the Panhandle needs a boost, my faith that this area is real mule deer country does not. But real questions linger. Like, what percentage of the population did we see this week? And how does mule deer management across the invisible state line matter to the area we were in?
What we're going to do with this information that we get out of this project is we're going to be able to put out the word that we are better equipped to manage a mule deer population. Hey, by the way, there is this mule deer opportunity in Oklahoma if you aren't aware of it, and maybe you start to get the person that lives in the far eastern part of Oklahoma that maybe didn't even realize that there's an opportunity there to say, hey, I've hunted whitetails all my life. I would love to do a western mule deer hunt. I had no idea I could do that in Oklahoma. This research project is going to equip us to get that message out better and to say, yes, there is this opportunity here in Oklahoma.
I always want more information on mule deer.
More better data.
Always. Always. Yeah. I mean, there's never a spot. The honest to God reason that I love hunting mule deer is the fact that I will never be as good as I want to be. I just will. I am enthralled with the animal, I'm enthralled with the landscape, and no matter how much I go after these animals, I will never know all I want to know.
To find out how you can get involved, go to muledeer.org.